As you know, I love bringing in guests and discussing about whatever with them here on Talking at a Time. Today I brought in a very special guest who I'll be interviewing and discussing about ... because you'll be finding out later on here on this very episode. Enjoy!
Hi, my name is Himanshu Gediya. I'm a senior at Magruder High School, and I'm the president of the Minority Scholars Program, and I had played 2 varsity sports at Magruder.
Wow, that's cool. All right. Getting on with the interview. First question: how did this opportunity happen?
Well, it's kind of hard to think about the first time I thought about testifying because it was a while ago. I think it might have been about 1 or 2 months ago when I was talking to the SGA president at Magruder, and we were talking about the opportunity gap, and I wanted to express my concerns to the board, and he brought up the idea of testifying, and he gave me instructions and the steps I needed to take to testify, and I just went with it, and it went pretty well.
What kind of expectations were you hoping for after the testimony?
Let me think. So after testimony, one of the biggest things I wanted to happen was more representation for majority minority schools, and I wanted to push more students from these schools to testify because the more voices we have, the more we can get heard, and the more the board is educated on how we can close the opportunity gap. So that's one of the biggest things I wanted my testimony to take away.
You've mentioned in your testimony, and actually now that you were part of the MSP program, how will this benefit them?
Um, Well, a lot of my testimony actually went with the MCPS, MSP, movement. In my testimony, I was fighting for a more equitable education system in Montgomery County, and also to close the opportunity gap. So I feel like that me testifying actually uh kind of helped the Board of Education hear about the Minority Scholars Program, and actually see a representative from the Minority Scholars Program talk about the issues firsthand.
Um, how will this overall benefit Magruder High School?
Um, so I think my testimony will benefit Magruder High School because what we need now is social workers at Magruder. Uh, I've interviewed almost all the counselors in my high school before my testimony to hear their input, and they all said that their caseloads were very high, and it was very hard for them to actually meet with the students one on one and hear from them because they had so many students they had to take care of. So there's no one that's actually here to keep track of these students who are struggling and falling behind. And I feel like that's where the opportunity gap starts. So if we can have social workers at each middle school and high school in Montgomery County, I think it would immensely help our student body. And
Mm-hmm.
I really think it would make a change in the county.
Mm-hmm. How will MCPS help prevent the opportunity gap?
Um, I think one of the big ways MCPS can prevent the opportunity gap is to get input from the students who are being affected by the opportunity gap. The opportunity gap will continue to grow if we're not keeping track of the students falling behind and not looking further than just the classroom, because many of the students at Magruder come from households where English might not be their first language, or some of them had to work other jobs, and I feel like the county isn't able to recognize that. And if they're able to recognize that and be able to recognize the needs of all of our students, it will help them come up with a solution to close the opportunity gap in our county and create a more equitable education for.
Mm-hmm. And are you looking forward to any changes within the county?
I am. Uh, like I said before in my testimony, I really wanted social workers at high schools, and later in the Board of Education meeting, they actually brought up the idea of funding social workers and actually having social workers at high schools in the near future. And one of the other things that I heard at the Board of Education meeting was uh, making schools safer, and this really, I don't know how to explain it, but this really impacted me in the last couple of days because recently at Magruder that was like a really serious incident, and
Mm-hmm.
now that I think of it, we really do need to make our schools safer. I know this podcast that we're doing right now is for like what my testimony was about, but I'm actually thinking of going back to the Board of Education, talking to them about what happened at Magruder, because I really think that a lot of students at my school don't really feel safe at school anymore after what
Mm-hmm.
happened, and it's not really the best environment. Like a lot of students don't even want to come back on Tuesday to school because they don't feel safe and they don't feel like it's a good learning environment. So, uh, at the last Board of Education meeting, I heard that they're trying to make schools safer, and I know they took out SROs recently, and
Mm-hmm.
I agree with a lot of the stuff they're talking about with taking out SROs. But if we're gonna take out SROs, we need social workers, because the reason why I'm pretty sure they took out SROs was to use the funding for SROs for social workers, but we don't have social workers either. So there's no middle ground that we can have. We need SROs or social workers. So because SROs will prevent things like this when it happens, and social workers will prevent things like this before it happens. So that's just one of the things. I know it's a little off topic. It was just on my mind recently.
No, it's okay. It's okay to go off topic. We don't have to stay on the topic. You can extend it a bit. You're allowed to do that on this podcast. And like, I definitely agree with you. And I was actually gonna bring up about like what happened. I think it was on Friday, right?
Yeah, I was on Friday.
Mm-hmm. And like, I definitely agree. And like, do you think with SROs and also social workers, should there be like a bit of a balance at like each schools in the district?
Yeah. So I think the reason why they took SROs out was because a lot of students weren't feeling comfortable with them in school.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it depends on a school to school basis if they either want SROs or not. Um, I think Magruder might have been one of the schools that didn't want SROs. That's why we got rid of them like a year or two ago. But it's right what you're saying. It's about the balance between SROs and social workers.
Mm-hmm.
But we either need to have one of those. We need to at least have one of those, because my school has neither. So we need to at least have one.
Hmm. No, I definitely agree. And I think, like, because I was just discussing about this, like, with my aunt, and it was like, she thought that, like, I think within, like, MCPS schools, there would be, like, metal detectors, and whatnot for, like, I guess students who are bringing in weapons like that. And, like, I don't think they have it here in our county. So, would you think, like, if then no SROs, and if we had social workers, would you think that maybe to maybe help out with safety, would metal detectors help out a bit?
So that's also a good question. I know some students that don't want detectors because they don't want to feel like they're going into a school that's unsafe, and they don't want to feel like they don't want to walk into school every day worrying about metal detectors and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But I do believe it could possibly prevent issues like this from happening, and having SROs could possibly prevent students from like bringing guns into school because they know that there's like a police officer at school
Mhm.
that can like take action. So I think that would help students from doing stuff like that. So I honestly don't know if having metal detectors at school is gonna help. I think it's a thing we could try out, but I'm not sure how it would help out or how it would affect students. So we'll just have to see what the county does on that.
True, yeah. And if you're like unsure, that's definitely okay. And like, yeah, I'm a bit unsure with metal detectors too, because yeah, I don't want to go into a school that would make me feel like, kind of prison like, if
Mhm.
that's right to say. But it's like, no, yeah, I definitely agree. Is there anything else you maybe want to bring up or mention?
Um, I don't think so. I think that's about it. Um, I'm trying to think. Um, yeah, that's about it. That's about it. Yeah.
Okay.
You have any more questions?
Um, I don't think at the current moment, but I really did enjoy interviewing you about this, and like you took on like such a really cool opportunity to speak, directly to the Board of Education about this issue that's going on with an MCPS, and like really I'm proud of you for that.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Hmm. Yeah,
Mhm.
well, thank you so much.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Hmm. Bye.
Bye.